Next, from Chicago, we talk with Maureen Hughes, author of Sins of the South, which recounts the author's investigation of a 1956 killing which authorities in southern Illinois ruled a suicide. But upon investigation, Ms. Hughes determined the killing was a murder and alleges local authorities were involved in covering up the crime. This runs about 10 minutes.
Maureen Hughes, you are the author of a new book called Sins of the South. It's a true murder story, and tell us just briefly what is the story about?
It's a cold case that's 56 years old about a nightclub owner in southern Illinois. I was approached by the one-time deputy governor of Illinois to reopen, certainly re-examine this case.
And why was he interested in it?
It was his father who owned the nightclub.
And who was the murder victim?
Lester shot Winchester. And Bob Winchester approached me to reinvestigate the case. I did. I found where it was not a suicide, as the state officially called it, but a murder. I also found the murderers, or I know who did murder him. They have since departed. I talked with the man that drove the car that held the killers in it, and I found him in Tennessee.
How were you able, 56 years later, to go out and dig up the facts when an investigation, I presume there was an investigation at the time, didn't show who had done it?
There was a cover-up, actually statewide. It was very apparent that it was a murder. Yet at the inquest, only certain people were called a witness. They could only answer certain questions. There were no cross-examination. And the inquest jury, requested the case stay open and the state reinvestigate it. This was not done.
Now, Mr. Winchester, who had a nightclub, was murdered. What was behind the murder and who were behind the murder?
The book explains the strong structural influence of the mafia in Illinois, and in southern Illinois particularly. Mr. Winchester was not involved with the mob, but he knew what Alexander County was involved in, and he also knew what Pulaski County was involved in, as far as illegal actions.
And what kind of actions were going on down there?
Hijacking of contraband of numerous kinds, Canadian liquor, cigarettes, furs, women's dresses, a number of illegal activity. Mr. Winchester was fully aware of it, and he also knew that politicians, law enforcement people were involved in taking kickbacks to the other way. Gun running was also another high-profile activity in southern Illinois.
And again, this is in the late 50s or so, about 1956, you say?
Mr. Winchester was killed in 1956, and I think it should be noted that Jack Ruby, who was later charged with killing Lee Harvey Oswald, was a car dealer in Karnak, Illinois. So there's a lot of history in southern Illinois. Some of it's a little uncomfortable.
Do you identify the killers then in the book?
I do. And I do this because of the man that drove the killers to the site. He identified them and said he has lived with this all these years. He was 19 and picked to drive the killers to the spot on Route 37. And he said he was told if ever breathed a word about it, he would disappear. So he's in his 90s now, late 80s, and it was a terrific burden off of his shoulders. Those were his exact words when he finally did tell me.
And when you were approached to write this book, did you have any imagination that you'd be able to crack the crime?
Not at all. Only after I saw one set of crime pictures, there were two made, one accurate and one doctored, did I realize this was absolutely a cover-up. And then I started searching for documents and records, and neither Pulaski or Alexander County wanted to cooperate. So
how long did the book take to write and research?
research was 8 months. Writing it and all the steps in that was almost 6. It came out in June of 2012.
And now, if someone is interested in picking up a copy of Sins of the South, where would they be able to do that?
Amazon.com, of course, Barnes & Noble, or they can email me, MAUREEN_3849 and I will be more than happy to send them an autographed copy.
All right, Maureen Hughes, author of Sins of the South, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
You're watching the Illinois Channel, an independent nonprofit corporation formed to provide gavel-to-gavel coverage of Illinois state government and other public affairs events taking place across Illinois.